one, an important Swiss round. This is a win into cut. The winner of this can get into cut already. Both of these players are at 9-1-2 right now. So
both of these players, if they won this round, they would be at 32 match points, meaning that in round 14, all they would have to do was intentionally draw with whoever they are up against, and that would put them at plenty of match points to make it into cut. Mateusz starts it off with a quick ball, getting rid of that Pumpkaboo. Not a good card in this matchup, but a really cool tech to see played this weekend.
Absolutely. I'm sure it has had a lot of usage here from Mateusz. Looking through the deck, and interestingly enough, opting to grab Meloetta off the bat. We usually see the importance of getting Genesect down super early, but you know what it is. It's that turn one battle VIP pass. It's going to be able to get those two basic Genesects onto the bench, and this is exactly what you want to see. Any start with Mew where you see that battle pass come down, that red background and that little tag, you know things are about to get crazy.
The exact card you want to find. Getting two basic Pokemon in play, Mateusz eyeing up the two Genesect V, the Fusion Strike system ability, being one of the strongest in the game right now, and possibly one of the strongest ever, filling your hand up to however many Fusion Strike Pokemon you have in play. So you can just draw so many cards, up to 6 cards, multiple times a turn, incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and also that turn 1 fusion energy could be a big deal. Attacking with these one-prize Pokemon is your optimal attackers, especially when your Mew VMAXs are going to be taking a lot of damage from something like Galarian Moltres.
Just one Fusion Strike system from Mateusz, and then a pass over to Justin.
Well, it looks like may have top decked that Mew. I see no reason that Mew would not be in the active spot to start things out. So at minimum, has the potential to pivot out. I'm sure this Galarian Moltres wants to get scoop up netted into the active, but you really never want to start this Pokemon. You've got two better starters in that Sobble and that Mew, as Energy Search will be able to search energy out. So the optimal attack going second for Justin and for this Rapid Strike deck in general has been that Keep Calling attack to get those Rapid Strike Pokemon into play. We'll have to see if that's possible. It's going to be a little bit harder when you don't have that Sobble started or even that Mew to easily find one of those pivoting options.
Filling the board with Sobbles always feels so good, and in this deck often you can get Rapid Strike Urshifu V down, though I don't even think Justin will put a Rapid Strike Urshifu V into play in this matchup. We'll see if that's the route he chooses to go, but I would honestly be surprised to see one of those hit the board.
Yeah, only limited to two Clara the entire game. You have the one, and then the Palpad can bring back a second Clara. So you have to be very careful on when to utilize that, especially on Moltres. And starting into play and having potentially get knocked out would be a big deal because that is one less Galarian Moltres you can use during this game. And it, again, is going to be your main attacker. Urshifu V, a Psychic Weak 2-prize Pokemon, not what Justin's going to want to put into play. And we've seen that throughout these matchups, how these players navigate away from their traditional strategy and sort of find a way to adapt. And that's what this deck does best.
Justin is probably going to try to KO one prizer, being a Meloetta, or maybe an Oricorio potentially at some point, one 2-prizer in like a Genesect or a Mew V, and then one 3-prize Pokemon being the Mew VMAX, and that would be 6 prize cards. So that's probably how Justin will try to map things out. And the nice thing about trying to map out your prizes in this way, it's that you don't have to worry so much about going down quickly. If Mateusz starts being aggressive and gets an early prize lead, Justin can just make massive swings because of how powerful Fiery Wrath is, easily being able to knock out the Dark Weak Mew VMAX.
Yeah, it looks like we will find 2 Sobbles onto the board, and it looks like just considering...
Yeah, it has some options.
Else to do, but it looks like signaling over... Oh, no, not quite. So still has the Mew. So turn going to continue there. There's the Mew. And we're actually just going to see the attachment to the active and the pass. And I think Mateusz is more than happy to take a knockout on this Galarian Moltres compared to everything else on the board. And will easily be able to do it. There's already the Fusion Strike energy in hand. Has the Alyssa Sparkle as well. The last key piece you want is to be able to attack with both of those Meloettas. So you really need that as the second target. And it's going to be a big Chromatic. Flips heads. That means we can grab another Meloetta out of the deck potentially. And then utilize that Alyssa Sparkle to power up both of them and get them ready to attack.
Mateusz is actually eyeing up Boss's orders here. The thing about the Moltres being in the active spot is it kind of forces Justin to use a scoop-up net at some point, which if you're using a scoop-up net on Moltres, that means it's one less Shady Dealings play you can utilize. Does opt to go for that second Meloetta, though, was eyeing up Boss at some point, just getting one more Fusion Strike Pokemon in play, so now Fusion Strike system can draw you even more. And Alessa's Sparkle will accelerate 2 Fusion Strike energies from the deck into play, going onto both of those Meloetta.
Yeah, this is exactly what you want. It's going to be hitting for a hard 280 damage this turn.
More than enough to deal with Moltres, I think.
More than enough, but more importantly, even after a single Meloetta gets knocked out, 140 is still enough to deal with everything else in Justin's deck. It could still deal with a Rapid Strike Urshifu V, but it's not needed and is plenty. So these are the solid one-prize attackers Mateusz really wants to utilize here in this matchup, as the last Fusion Strike energy is in hand, so I'm sure we're going to see that get played down. There we go. And it looks like last card in hand is a Scoop Up Net, so going to want to get rid of that, but we'll be able to draw up to 5 cards. We'll see what the draws are. Nice option there as a boss. Also has another Mew to fill the board. I have to imagine you maybe wanted to save that spot for an Oricorio potentially. That way something like the Hoopa does not take a knockout in one hit against it.
Something kind of interesting that can happen from Justin's point of view is if Mateusz did put Oricorio in play, Justin can actually hit a Meloetta for 70 damage and then Yoga Loop it later on to buy a second turn. So I wonder if Mateusz is keeping that play in mind. It can be a little iffy if it's worth it or not to put Oricorio down in a matchup like this.
You have to debate how much value is being get out of that, because at the same time they would need to be doing that to win the game. Otherwise it is just a 2-price Psychic Weak Pokemon. So there's definitely pros and cons to either option, but Mateusz is here for a reason. He is at a solid record. He knows what's happening, but it looks like this Drizzile will actually go ahead and grab that Cynthia's Ambition, a very solid card to fill the hand back up to 8 cards because that Galarian Moltres was knocked out the following turn, or the previous turn rather. So we'll have to see if there's any other way to get cards out of the hand. You obviously want to maximize your draws, fill that hand up as much as possible while playing down everything else. So we'll see what else is to be, but not a horrible spot for either player here. Justin's early game is going to be slow because, again, every time a prize is taken, Moltres is hitting for 50 more damage, scaling all the way up to 270, more than enough to knock out anything in this deck, especially with that Dark Weakness.
Quick Ball's going to grab Hoopa. Great option this turn to try and get this KO on the Meloetta. Responds to the aggression of Mateusz. You don't really mind too much to see all these Fusion Strike energies in play because all your Pokemon are one-prizers. They're going to be knocked out pretty easily regardless, but usually seeing 4 Fusion Strike energies in play is a terror for the opponent.
Yeah, it looks like we will see the Cynthia's Ambition for 7 cards. Going to go ahead and fill the hand up. And there are some solid options here. Looks like Level Ball could get another Sobble, already another Drizzile in the hand. But it looks like the key piece that is missing is that Dark Energy. So I believe that Sobble came into play. Sobble came into play last turn, so we can see the Drizzile go ahead and grab something. But we also haven't seen that Mysterious Tail yet from the Mew. So
that's right.
Justin is an experienced player, knows how to sequence this correctly, and this is honestly a great game to watch if you're getting into learning how to sequence. There is nobody better to follow in the game than Justin.
Yeah, Justin has Drizzile in hand, but wants to use Mysterious Tail first, because depending on what item card Justin can find here, that could affect what item you want to get off of the Shady Dealings from your Drizzile.
Yeah, looks like looking over your options, would have liked to find maybe an Energy Search or another way to get down a Sobble this turn. Rope and Scoop Up Net, the 2 options. Rope doesn't make much sense here, right? You got Meloettas mirroring each other on the bench, so it will just be the Scoop Up Net for probably the following turn after these Inteleons start to get evolved. And we see how powerful just chaining these evolutions. You're building up to that Inteleon. As soon as you do it, you're finding your trainer cards along the way. You scoop it back up. The second Shady Dealing is going to come out. Is going to looks like eye up the Training Court. Not a bad grab either. You already have the energy discard, but it is nice to have that later on in the game. But sort of, you can kind of figure out that Mew along the way will end up just discarding their stadiums naturally because they are trying to burn through that deck to find what they need.
Yeah, I think using the Training Court here also leaves the Energy Search in the deck, because Energy Search is a card you can get off of Mew, whereas Training Court is a card that you can only get with Drizzile. So by getting it with Shady Dealings now, you leave an out in the deck for getting an Energy Search to find an energy later on. Using a Scoop Up Net on a Mew never feels great. You really want to air balloon that, because now that's one less Scoop Up Net to Shady Dealings, but it is a worthwhile cost to get rid of that card whenever you're getting a knockout, taking out the Meloetta.
5-5 each, prize-wise, but actions on Mateusz. We'll see what the options are. At minimum, already has the knockout here with the bench Meloetta. this is maybe where you start to weave in Mew, and we actually are now seeing the Oricorio come down into place. So maybe just wanted to try to draw an extra card off Fusion System the previous turn, or now feels like, oh, at this point, the way I have my prizes mapped, it never makes sense for you to go for a Metachan play. So this is going to be pretty interesting to see. The Lions is getting rid of the Lesser Sparkle, is essentially an unplayable card. Can't even play it from your hand because all 4 Fusion Energy are either in play or in the discard pile, as it looks like we will see the hand get filled up. Eyeing up that boss's orders can potentially start to get rid of these Drizzile lines. They're not doing much when it comes to threatening damage, but they are finding these pieces that will be necessary later on in the game as everything progresses and that Clara becomes an excellent option for Justin.
The thing to keep track of is when is Mateusz going to choose to attack with Mew VMAX, because you have to attack with it at some point. You only have so many one prizers, only so many Meloettas to use, but attacking with Mew VMAX is always risky because it is a 3-prize Darkness Weak Pokemon. By playing these power tablets, we could see Mateusz go for potentially a Psychic Leap play to put that Pokemon back into the deck. That way the 3-prize liability isn't really something to worry about too much. But also at this point, Mew wouldn't go down to a Moltres since Mateusz would only be at 2 prizes taken after this turn.
I think really just looking for that double turbo energy on the Mew. This is an excellent time to use it when Fiery Wrath is not dealing enough damage to take a knockout. Would only be dealing 120 damage, 100 reduced from the Oricorio, so Choice Band, Choice Belt, a lot of these choice cards would not be able to take the knockout. So
Ooh, does find Cram-O-Matic.
We're flipping, baby.
The Battle VIP pass. This could be an important flip. Needs to find the double turbo. What's the flip?
It's
a
heads.
Very nice. And that is huge because Mateusz actually prized one of the 2 copies of double turbo energy that he plays. And now flipping heads on the Cram-O-Matic can get the other one out of the deck, which was going to be difficult to draw otherwise.
Yeah, I believe buried at the top of the prizes. We'll see soon after this prize take, but it is actually going to be the Psychic Leap. So this is a smart way to take some prizes and not have to keep a 3-prize Pokemon on the active. At this point, I am sure it will still take damage and can heal off, but you can sort of get into these positions where you can sort of build up your damage with the power tablets, Psychic Leap, and then put yourself in a position where you're not putting up as liable of a Pokemon. However, this list is pretty interesting. We usually see a lot of these lists playing 4 power tablet, but there's only 3 in Mateusz's list, which is very, very interesting because usually you want to maximize your complete damage output. So
it does still have
just 4. Yeah. My so
yeah, it's a little weird on the deck list back here because some of them are in a different language. But yeah, it does have the full 4 copies in order to boost the damage throughout the rest of the game.
Looks like we are going to see the benched Mew get promoted, so if this is somehow knocked out, would be knocked out by something like a Fiery Wrath. So that is something to note.
Yeah,
if
and I wonder if this
play.
decision from Mateusz is almost like baiting Justin into using the Galarian Moltres here. It's obviously great because you're taking the prize cards, but at the same time, using a Moltres to just take the 2 prizes means it's 1 less that can potentially threaten a Mew VMAX later on in the game, especially with a Moltres already in the discard pile. Justin does play 2 copies of the card, but if you have to use a Clara too early, you know, we already talked about how running out of these resources or having a hard time finding them could be an issue.
Interesting choice to start the turn off by bringing the Hoopa up. I assume that maybe has some sort of play regarding the scoop up net to maybe get the energy in the discard pile to bring back with Clara. So this is going to be pretty interesting to see. Looks like has another Sobble eyeing up, throwing that on the bench. There is a limited space, so 1 more bench slot open for that Galarian Moltres. Got to make sure you're not clogging everything up because you need to be able to do what you need to do to find those pieces. And finding pieces is going to be very easy with the Shady Dealings. Inteleon finds the one of. It is available in the deck. And we could very likely see something like a Clara into a scoop-up net. And if there is something like an Air Balloon on that Mew, that would be the excellent pivot card to get that Moltres back into the active to start dealing some damage. Would be able to go down to 3 prize cards. But this kind of makes you wonder, right? Is Mateusz trying to bait Justin into going for this play? Or is this maybe just an oversight of, I was completely safe if I went for an attack this turn.
Justin needs to make sure to put the Inteleon in play. You can't just Evolution Incense for 2 trainer cards. It doesn't quite work like that. Got to get that Inteleon into play and evolved to find those trainers.
Yeah, it looks like Training Court's still in place. That's going to be excellent. Justin can get back another energy, something like that Fighting Energy, which can fill the 1 colorless requirement in the attack cost. And it looks like we will see the Darkness Energy grabbed out of the deck. And now it really comes down to, is there access to Clara? I have to assume with this play of bringing up the Hoopa, that has to be the option.
Yeah, I think I saw that Clara in the hand already. So it's there. It's available. The thing about this deck is there are so many options every single turn. When you're using multiple Shady Dealings, you really can just do so many different things. Scoop Up Net comes down and discards that Darkness Energy, now able to be grabbed back with something like the Clara or potentially the Training Court. And Clara does come down, which will grab the Moltres back, gets 2 energy cards as well. Not sure if there's any other Pokemon that Justin wants to grab. Shady Dealings, Inteleon seems like a decent choice. Or Drizzile, excuse me.
Yeah, you can go ahead and utilize another Shady Dealings this turn. You've got access to 1 more, I believe. So, looks like we will see the Air Balloon on the Mew. Mysterious Tail to start things off. Scoop Up Net, Quick Ball, all solid options to look at. And it looks like eyeing up that Quick Ball, a beautiful Diamond and Pearl art Quick Ball, routed to be played in the standard format. So, like these players bringing the arts, Justin has always been playing this sort of classic minimum rarity style, and just a very humble person in general. So, honestly, at this point here, you have all that you need. At this point, you have the pivoting option, you have the Galarian Moltres, you have a ton of options to work with. So, this is kind of where you are on sort of your bonus, if that makes sense. You can grab an extra card to set up for the turn after. Raihan is a very solid option to get to maybe power up something out of nowhere. You could also grab a way to get another Galarian Moltres, which we already saw with the Quick Ball that was grabbed out the Mysterious Tail. Justin's kind of going after it here, finding some extra cards and making sure they put something together. Grabs the boss's orders off of that, so maybe trying to, like you said, target down the Mew, then maybe the Oricorio, and then 1 other 2-prize Pokemon to close this game out.
Yeah, a tech that has been really popular in Mew this weekend is a lot of players are choosing to play 1 copy of Marnie in order to combat these Inteleon decks who love to plan turns and turns ahead and fill their hands up with resources in order to find KO after KO. Mateusz is actually not playing Marnie in his list, and so for that reason, Justin feels comfortable filling the hand up with things like the boss's orders, planning multiple turns ahead.
Looks like we are going to see the Moltres come down. It's going to power itself up, utilizing that ability to deal extra damage. And it looks like we are going to see... Oh, not that one. Yeah, there we go. We got the Malevolent Charge to deal extra damage based off those prize cards. We'll go ahead and take that 2-prize knockout on the Mew V. Justin going to go down to 3 prize cards remaining. Meloetta already online to take this knockout in return. Is going to go ahead and thin out some of those pieces that are not needed, like that Choice Belt. I'm sure Justin will not be putting down any 2-prize Pokemon in this matchup.
Mateusz gets down 2 Mew V to replace the one that was just KO'd, and Meloetta's ready to take this knockout. And Justin is definitely in a solid position here, I would say, overall, needing to knock out just 1 more 1-prizer, and then at that point, Moltres should be able to close out the game on a Genesect with a boss's orders play, potentially, or a Mew V or VMAX. Mateusz does take this KO, going down to just 3 prize cards remaining. These players are tied at this point as far as the prize cards are concerned. It's just going to be up to Justin to piece things together and find a way to get this knockout.
Yeah, now the play you were mentioning before with the Medicham into the Assault Gate sounds very, very good for Justin, especially being at 3 prize cards. It means you can go for that line, and then either from there you have the option to just get that extra supporter card the following turn. So maybe... this is honestly very interesting. I hope we see that line, because every time we see a Yoga Loop, it's very interesting.
Something to note, Mateusz does play 1 copy of Scoop Up Net, which is used in this deck to get that Pumpkaboo out of play if Mateusz ever starts it or utilizes it and then wants to clear that bench spot up. So if Justin goes for this route of using Assault Gate on the Hoopa, trying to set up for a Yoga Loop play, Mateusz has been holding onto this Scoop Up Net the entire game, has not discarded it once to a Quick Ball or a Cram-O-Matic, has not used it to thin cards out to draw more with Fusion Strike system, saving that card for a combat to the potential Yoga Loop setup play on Justin's end. Very smart from Mateusz, and I wonder if Justin even expects the Scoop Up Net, because that is not a card you ever see people playing in Mew. That could be a really big surprise for Justin if he chooses to go this route of trying to set up the Yoga Loop with an Assault Gate.
I'm trying to think. Maybe you would... The only reason I think you would warrant it is you know about the Pumpkaboo, but then even then it's like, would you really commit another slot to a Scoop Up Net to get it out of play? Or just accept that if you start it, you start it? But That is sort of the mystery element that's very different from some of these events that we see where there's open deck lists or deck list information. That is not the case in these events, in these international and regional championships. So maybe does not have the deck knowledge at this point. Will, however, get out that quick shooting Inteleon. So maybe doesn't even want to go for the Yoga Loop play. That quick shooting in combination with that Assault Gate will be enough to take a knockout on the Meloetta.
You can't hit the Meloetta with the quick shooting.
Oh, correct. Yeah.
Strike energies. But what Justin can do with this is boss the Oricorio this turn. So that might be what Justin is going for in order to still get a one-prize knockout. And that is very much what we could see since boss was stacked to the hand last turn by Shady Dealings. And sure enough, Oricorio is being brought to the active.
Yeah, kind of forget about that passive effect on the fusion energy to prevent those abilities from targeting it down. But an excellent play to boss's orders. Made it pretty clear last turn that, hey, something is moving to the active to start things off. And if the prizes are drawn from the bottom there, we'll be able to get the Rapid Strike energy. But at this point, it seems that Justin is playing around utilizing any of these two-prize Pokemon, wants to just utilize these Dark-type attackers to close things out. And it's been going pretty swimmingly so far. Has had the key pieces to put together the knockouts. So.
I think Justin would really like to find the PAL pad here to potentially put boss's orders back into the deck, because right now, not having access to another one could be a little unfortunate. Justin does only play one single copy of the card. Did use quick shooting and has put 2 damage counters on the active Oricorio. Now just needs to retreat into the Hoopa. Quick Ball will thin that Passimian out. Not a card that'll be useful at this point in the game. And just gets another Mew out. No, thinking about what other basic Pokemon to grab from the deck with this Quick Ball.
Yeah, there are a lot of options to work with. At minimum, already has the knockout with the Assault Gate Hoopa. An excellent spot to be in. Does still have options to boss's orders in the future. It's just going to go ahead and grab that Rapid Strike Urshifu V. Wants to make it so there are as little cards in the deck that are not impactful to closing this game out. So, very smart option to go ahead and just grab that piece. You know your opponent is most likely not playing something like a Marnie, and even if they are, that's fine because the card you don't want is going to the bottom of the deck where you don't want it. Looks like we are going to see that retreat finally. And there you go. Assault Gate going to go ahead and take the knockout. Justin is going to go down to just 2 prize cards remaining. And that's actually important to note. That PAL pad, which could be relevant in getting the boss's orders back, is only playing one of those boss's orders, actually. So we'll not have the ability to boss's orders again unless we see something like a Peonia into a boss the following turn with that.
Speaking of boss's orders, Mateusz is going to go for a boss of their own, bringing up this Drizzile, knowing Justin just scoop up netted the Inteleon. So this will cut Justin off from the multiple Shady Dealings plays this coming turn.
Yeah, I don't know if there's that Mew VMAX yet, but at minimum, this Meloetta can come up and take the knockout with Melodious.
Yeah, I think Mateusz would love to attack with the Meloetta here. Since it's a 1-prize Pokemon, Justin has 2 prize cards remaining. Attacking with a Mew VMAX is just asking for a Galarian Moltres to come in and win the game.
Yeah, and even in this position, Justin essentially has a 2-turn clock to win, even knocking out a 1-prize Pokemon.
Even without a boss, right?
Yeah, at that point, Fiery Wrath dealing 270 damage can knock out anything in this deck. So it's really just mainly going to come down to, can Justin find the pieces? And this is a good route to stop that. I think Mateusz understands that if Justin Shady Dealings and Scoop Nets and Shady Dealings, he just builds up Moltres over and over again. Has played 1 Clara so far. So there are a few options to work with specifically. But again, I can't stress enough, that PAL pad being prized is a big deal because there's no access to another Clara. There's no access to another boss's orders. And Justin doesn't have another way besides finding the second Moltres and the energies just in hand to get this into play. Clara is the easiest option, as we've seen this weekend, to get that Malevolent Charge into Fiery Wrath.
Mateusz drawn through the deck. Does have a boss's orders now, so has already bossed the Drizzile here, so has already made the boss's orders play. Looking for maybe a Mew VMAX, maybe just wants to go with the Meloetta this turn. I feel like that's probably the better choice. Eyeing up a card off Rotom Phone here. Plenty of choices.
Looks like eyeing up a Rotom Phone off the Rotom Phone, but he's actually just going to go ahead and test his luck here. Chromatic, good card to thin the hand out, draw some card, or find some cards out of the deck. But I wasn't too happy about that. I don't think there's necessarily anything that you're like, wow, I need this card this turn. You kind of just have to go with Meloetta, right, and deal some damage and set the board up. Even has another boss for the following turn as well, so that could be a key piece, especially if Justin is unable to put together the pieces necessary.
Something Justin could utilize instead of boss's orders is Escape Rope. Mateusz has only 2 prize Pokemon on the bench, so if Justin this turn can find the Galarian Moltres and the escape rope, get all of those pieces, Justin would be able to just win the game. It's a lot to ask, though, with a lot of energies already being in the discard pile.
I'm trying to see and count. It looks like 3 or 4. It looks like the basic fighting is there, so that's good. There's still a lot more, the more dark energy in the deck, so should have access to another 1 or 2 maybe. Actually, I think 2 energy at max because there is the one on the Hoopa as well, so 3 dark energy in total that have been played. But Training Court is also an option as well to recover those energies, so there are a lot of lines, but Justin looks like doesn't have things quite yet. Wants to just look things over.
Raihan potentially as well. That can get +1 energy theoretically. So there's a lot of different plays for Justin to try and make this work. Just what are the pieces? Mateus's decision to knock out the Inteleon is certainly making this much harder for Justin. If Justin had access to Shady Dealings Inteleon plus a Shady Dealings Drizzile this turn, that would just be, you know, everything that he needed in order to close it out, most likely.
Yeah, and at this point, you kind of just have access to the one Drizzile, and if that gets picked off, then there is no other option to search out trainers this turn, or the next turn, rather. So we are going to see the Shady Dealings. We know that's in hand. It was scoop up netted. And now we got to decide, what is the grab? I think maybe still is holding on to that Quick Ball in hand. I don't think that was played from previous turns ago. It actually may have grabbed the Rapid Striker Shifu. But yeah, we see Peonia looks like the grab, understands how important it is to have access to that Clara. But if we see another boss's orders, things could spell trouble here for Justin.
Grabs the Peonia, can play it to get those prize cards back to the hand, and by playing Palpad this turn, you're putting Clara back into the deck and setting up for a Fiery Wrath play on the next turn.
Also has access still to Mysterious Tail to get a card out of the deck, so we are just going to see that right now. We'd like to just find something here.
Well, those are 0 item cards there in the top 6. Some cards I'm sure Justin wouldn't have minded grabbing, like the Moltres or a Raihan, but unfortunately Mysterious Tail does limit you to only being able to get items.
Gonna head over to the prizes here. Peonia will go ahead and put the Palpad notably back into the hand. So we'll have to see what Justin decides to put back. I'm sure in that hand size there are 2 cards that Justin doesn't want. But again, with these combo piece decks, there's a lot of pieces that I think everything that Justin would all like to have consistently in this hand. But at this point, kind of have to decide, what can I do without, what can I not do? And yeah, I think Cheryl and Rapid Strike Energy are 2 pretty fine cards to put back in the prizes.
Yeah, Justin's not going to need either of these to close this game out. Cheryl's not even good in this matchup, and honestly, Rapid Strike Energy isn't the best either.
Yeah, it looks like we are actually going to see another Mew get put into play. Wants to have that as a potential to find some cards the following turn. Justin is going to go ahead and go down to a single prize.
Did not play the Palpad this turn, so he's going to be reliant on having access to Inteleon to find all these pieces, and Mateus recognizes this and bosses the Drizzile right away.
Yeah, now you don't leave that as a potential to top deck something like the Clara for that turn. And we are just going to see the knockout.
Justin have it. It's a 1v1 prize trade here. Justin's playing a Training Court out. Are there enough pieces available to close out the game this turn? If not, Mateus definitely has the pieces necessary.
Yeah, Quick Ball will be able to find the Galarian Moltres out of the deck. Just needs to have a 2 energy in total in the hand. So there are still 2 left in the deck.
It needs 3 total because you need to attach as well.
Yeah, it needs 3 total. So there are 2 left in the deck, and the 1 from Training Court means it is possible, but would need to be able to find all of those pieces. So is going to start things off with the Quick Ball, grabbing the Galarian Moltres. Now has access to that to try and use the ability to get that energy into play, as it looks like we are going to use Mysterious Tail. Finds the Evolution Incense, so can get that out of the deck and play it to get another card. Looks like still has the Rapid Striker Shifu VMAX there.
Yeah, can thin a card out of the deck, but if Justin doesn't find the KO this turn, Mateus just needs a switch or an energy for the benched Mew VMAX to knock out literally anything on Justin's field to win the game. It comes down to this turn. If Justin can find the pieces, the game is over.
Big research. He's going to have 7 cards here. Does he find the second energy? He finds it. He has the energy and the Training Court.
Down. Training Court as well.
And he's going to scoop things up. Justin Bokhari taking game number 1. Big time research to find the pieces there. That's got to be a sigh of relief to pull things out.
Yeah, didn't grab the Moltres off the quick ball because knew that it was in the deck, was just kind of checking what can I thin out? Can I guarantee that off of this research for 7, will I see all of the cards necessary to win this game? I honestly almost didn't even think about research as an option because I'm used to seeing the European crew who's been playing this Urshifu deck who does not play research in their list, but Justin having that option has been really nice. Didn't even need to worry about putting Clara back because all the pieces were in the deck. Research worked out just as well.
Yeah, a whole bunch of one-of supporters in this deck, and the research is perfect. My mistake, did not grab the Galarian Moltres, but it was in the deck to find those last 2 Darkness Energy. Only had 2 or 3 cards remaining after the research, so was hoping and praying that the bottom 2 or 3 cards didn't have the remaining 2 Dark Energy. Gonna be able to close things out, go up game 1. On Mateusz's side, do you think that was played optimal? I can't really imagine there was any other route you could have taken in that game besides maybe not Psychic Leaping that turn to avoid the knockout, but
yeah,
I'm not
maybe
quite sure.
Psychic Leap 1 turn later than what Mateusz chose to do could have been pretty nice, but I think played other than that very well overall. Keeping that scoop up net in hand was actually really smart, and I think it was going to be really funny if Justin did ever go for that Yoga Loop setup play, but ended up not mattering at all for that specific play. Now Mateusz here will certainly be choosing to go first, trying to get set up and see if he can find a way to navigate a win, force a game 3. Every single game matters so much. These players now, by winning this round, would lock themselves up for top 8, assuming they can ID that last round.
Ooh, Fusion Strike Energy in the prize cards, as well as a Genesect and a bunch of search cards there for Justin, but it is a lot better than having those key tech 1-ofs, I would assume, in most scenarios. Maybe not the Cheryl. I don't think you'd mind having the Cheryl or some of those other not very viable cards going. And
yeah, I think if you could choose your prize cards in this matchup, you would put Cheryl in there every single time.
Yeah, Mateusz actually opting to go second here to start things out. Understands that if I can maybe get that turn 1 Meloetta to put together some math to take a knockout and pace above, I'm going to guaranteed be able to take 2 prize cards before my opponent is able to take 1. In almost every case, Hoopa is still an option, but with that Oricorio down, it will not be because 70 damage instead of 90.
Yeah, and with Justin only benching a Sobble, Mateusz has the option to find a escape rope potentially this turn and just target that down, cut Justin off from using Shady Dealings, and that could slow Justin down quite a bit.
Yeah, starting that Galarian Moltres again, unable to start that Sobble or Mew. What you want to start out with this deck has a second Elisa Sparkle. We are just going to see the first one get discarded from the hand. As Meloetta will be the grab, so this makes me wonder, are we going to be seeing maybe a Cram-O-Matic or something else? It looks like we're going to be discarding Cram-O-Matic. This is actually a big flip.
Nice.
Big heads, and you know what that means? Battle VIP pass.
The first card to grab off of your first Cram-O-Matic almost always seems like it is the Battle VIP pass. So strong in many decks, but Mew VMAX seems to be the one that makes the best advantage of it.
He looks like eyeing up double Genesect. Nothing we haven't seen before. Wants to just continuously draw more cards, get things into play, and power up the board, it looks like. Just checking through the prizes. Mateusz has been playing very solidly, especially as a newer player here. I'm watching him like, this is a veteran we're watching here, Chip.
Yeah, I'd love to see someone making a deep run at their first major event.
It looks like we'll be at least able to fill the hand up to 4 with this Fusion Strike system. I believe the last couple of cards included a Switch and an Alessa Sparkle. So maybe he wants to try to get down another Meloetta if possible before going for that. But at minimum, can play the Switch. And I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see the Switch into the Meloetta.
And also still needs to draw Fusion Strike Energy. So by waiting here, you increase your odds to find a Fusion Strike Energy before worrying too much about playing your Alessa.
Yeah, now you are out of Alessa for the rest of the game. I think Justin's wondering, wait, what's happening here? Why are we already down 2 Alessa?
2 Alessa in the discard pile?
What's happening here? Surely he doesn't have a third one, right? But Ultra Ball is very nice to at least find that. So in the worst scenario, you are able to get this down. And a very interesting choice to not get down the other Meloetta with this to be able to utilize the Sparkle, because you'd like to put that onto both your Meloetta to have those both as one prize attackers during the game. But in this case, it's not possible, it seems so. We are just going to see the Mew get grabbed. It's not a bad card to have down. You're going to want to have it down turn 1 regardless. But at this point, it's just going to be a big second Fusion Strike system for 4 cards. Looking for a Fusion Strike Energy. Do we find it? There's the Fusion Strike Energy. That is a big-time find. Also has the Quick Ball to get down that 5th Fusion Strike Pokemon on the bench. another Genesect to fill things up, or a second Meloetta even. We see the Tool Jammer as well to prevent an easy pivoting option from Justin. And I think that's what we're going to see here probably. No, actually just going to go for Elissa Sparkle and place the 2 energies onto the Oricorio and the Meloetta. So maybe going to try to route this game out a little differently.
Yeah, it puts the energies all on one prize Pokemon. Normally a play we see players do in Mew Mirror matches. Mateusz can quick ball and grab maybe another Mew, maybe another Genesect to draw cards. Another Genesect is going to be the choice. Wants to fill the hand up and draw a bunch more with this Fusion Strike system.
Yeah, you can't hate optimizing that card draw per turn, and Genesect is the epitome. It is the card drawing champion. If there is one card that draws the most out of anything in this format, or maybe even in the history of the Pokemon trading card game, I feel like I see the most draws with Genesect. It feels like a turn 1 for Mega Rayquaza. So everything is going crazy. The hands are filling up. We're getting setup after setup, essentially. And yeah, not a bad way to end the turn off here with a turn 1 knockout. Melodious Echo for 210 damage, taking the first prize card. Justin will be on the back foot to start things out. Not to count him out, though. We've seen Justin in these spots before, and there has been a lot of potential to put things out. And Pionia, actually, the supporter of choice to start things out. Not the best cards, but actually draws into, it looks like 3 search options there off of the prize cards, 2 level ball and a quick ball. So this
Yeah, that's definitely like a
solid.
desperation Pionia, because Justin hasn't even done a deck search yet. So that really was Justin's only option this turn, and just so happens to have drawn 3 basic search options and the 2 level balls and the quick ball. Very nice.
Yeah, it looks like eyeing up the options. Looks like maybe putting back the quick ball that was grabbed there.
Yeah, must have stuff in hand that you can't discard it this time. Still thinking about it, though. Scoop Up Net being put back. Level ball being put back. Maybe not.
This is the hard part about Pioneer. You can't just put the prizes into your hand. You have to replace them. So I think the easy choice there was the Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX.
Definitely.
In there. And I'm sure Justin will avoid taking that prize card slot for the remainder of the game.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see that Urshifu be taken unless Justin is winning the game by taking it as the last prize card.
Looks like we will see the level ball go ahead and grab what is most likely a Sobble out of the deck. Has the potential to apply some pressure to this Meloetta this turn, but at that point, it's kind of the same thing of you don't have knowledge of the Scoop Up Net. I don't think it was revealed at all during Game 1 that Scoop Up Net is in the deck. So yeah, we're just going to actually see the Mew get grabbed off of the level ball, and the Keep Calling will fill the bench up with Sobbles. So this is kind of what you want to see if you're Mateusz. You get to take another prize card, go to 4 prize cards. There's a potential your Meloetta doesn't even get knocked out the following turn. Most likely won't, because Hoopa is not doing enough due to the resistance from Lessons of Zeal on the Oricorio. And this is a very solid spot to be in here if you're Mateusz. And is going to start things off with a quick ball. Going to draw a lot of cards here off this Fusion Strike system. This is exactly how you want things to go in game number 2.
Yeah, this is looking great for Mateusz. Justin is having a much slower start, not getting a Hoopa to be aggressive with, and also because of that Oricorio, that's much less likely to be an option.
Ultra Ball is actually going to get rid of that Mew VMAX. I like that play to not evolve if you don't need to right away. You still have a few copies of it left into the deck, so no need to just really go ahead and stress over it.
This is a little risky, though, for Mateusz, because Mateusz actually only plays 2 Mew VMAX, and by discarding 1, you only have 1 left for the rest of the game. And we've seen that Mateusz's other Mew VMAX is actually in the prize cards. Now, it was at the bottom of the prizes, so it's pretty likely. Oh, it's Genesect there. I really thought the Mew was prized. Oh, it was prized, but he took it as the first prize card. Okay, yeah, that's what it was.
Still has access to 1 more, but I do agree with you. It is a risky line to take if you're going to leave yourself with 1 Mew VMAX, but you're usually not trying to attack.
I think in this matchup, you're only going to attack with 1 Mew VMAX. If that 1 Mew VMAX gets KO'd, you probably are losing that game regardless. So it definitely makes sense for this specific matchup.
Couldn't quite see the grab there off the Rotom phone, but it was taking a little bit of time. Not the best option. I saw basic Psychic Energy in there. I mean, you can technically use Glistening Droplets on Oricorio, but it's not going to be doing much for you. Nothing here to set up math. You'd rather just be taking knockouts when you are such a powerful hitting archetype, as we do see Ultra Ball is well in hand, but really not a lot of pieces to discard. But it looks like maybe now considering getting rid of the Mews. You didn't do it the previous Fusion Strike system, but no, actually just going to go ahead and take the knockout, go down to 4 prize cards. Mew will come up, exactly what you want to see. Justin's got to put something together this turn. Now that you've got all these Sobbles in play that can get evolved into Drizzile.
That Tool Jammer is going to prevent any Air Balloon retreating, so the only way Justin can move this Mew would be either via the Escape Rope or having to use a Scoop Up Net on it.
Looks like eyeing up the options. How do you want to sequence things first? Is actually just going to go ahead and play the Drizzile to start things off, so maybe not an item card getting grabbed off of this first Shady Dealings. We're going to see plenty of deck searching during the turn for sure. Have to imagine you maybe want to apply some pressure with a Galarian Moltres this turn to take the knockout, as Hoopa won't be doing enough right now to get the knockout. You'd rather combine that later on with something like an Inteleon ping from that quick shooting, but it is not possible as things stand. No rare candy in Justin's deck to skip that stage of evolution. Just going to slowly build these up, and it's working out. There's no need to play that card in this deck.
Grabs the Cynthia's Ambition. Great card to play right after something was KO'd, as now Justin will draw all the way up to 8 cards in hand. Uses the Mew first, though. Gonna find an item card here, potentially. Does find just one choice in that Evolution Incense.
Yep, looks like it was looking grim there for, for that first 4 cards.
I was like, surely it's not going to just all be Pokemon off of this Mysterious Tail.
There are plenty of items in this deck. It happens sometimes. I mean, we saw that one game, right, where it's like 5 energy drawn or something. Right. And things happen in the Pokemon trading card game. It's just how things work. But Justin will be able to continue getting these Drizziles build up with another Shady Dealings in Drizzile this time. So it looks like eyeing up the Quick Ball. So this will be where Justin decides what route do I want to go after when attacking. Gonna get rid of that Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, and it is actually going to be the Hoopa at this point. So this is a much more feasible circumstance where a Yogaloop play is what Justin would want to push for at this position. But again, this is where you have to consider if you're Mateusz. Yes, Scoop Up that heals this, but you're also now taking off your only Meloetta, and the potential to attack with Meloetta for the entire game would also be removed.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how this works out. Something that could happen is like Mateusz will attack with the Meloetta even if it had 70 damage on it, because Justin doesn't want to get rid of that damage if he's going for the Yogaloop play, right? So Justin might go for like an Escape Rope that turn or a Boss's Order, something like that. And so Mateusz can get another turn of value out of Meloetta theoretically and then go for the Scoop Up Net to heal it. But not exactly sure if this is even how things will play out or not. Justin might just be fine taking the knockout after that. We see the 3rd Shady Dealings of the turn. Can get any other trainer card and just keep getting combo pieces together. Air Balloon comes down, but that won't be able to retreat this Mew this turn because of Tool Jammer on that Meloetta. It's still good for later, but now if you play Scoop Up Net, that Air Balloon would be discarded. Justin maybe has Escape Rope in hand.
Yeah, I have to imagine there's maybe an Escape Rope, but we don't see Tool Jammer a lot as a card.
No.
So maybe an Oversight is something. Justin surely has something.
Yeah, can't retreat.
Oh,
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of gives a thumbs up and say, yep, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh, now has to burn that Air Balloon too. Unfortunate. Yeah, so a rare Oversight there for Justin. We usually don't see
I mean,
that.
it's like you said, it's a card we don't see that often. It's been a long weekend of play, so something small like that can slip by you unexpectedly. It's going to be a 70 damage hit with the Assault Gate.
70 damage, not taking a prize, but setting up for a lot of lines of play. Even something like an Inteleon ping to take the knockout. So there are lines to. Never mind. Sorry, Fusion Strike Energy, not having it. So I gotta remember what this card is very good. Fusion Strike Energy. So we will see the Ultra Ball get played. Don't believe that grabbed anything. So it is just going to be. I want to get rid of these pieces. I understand that I'm trying to draw as many cards as possible. So. It is essentially a -3 from hand, and we see these a lot with these Ultra Ball, Quick Ball, Cryptomatic, a bunch of these cards that can just be played at any point. As we are looking at a Quick Ball as well to be played. It looks like getting rid of a Power Tablet, not valuing that at this point. Makes sense. Most of the time you are just going to be able to knock out these Pokemon in one hit. So this is kind of where things get a little bit tricky.
There's a Mew VMAX.
Yeah, we are going to see the Mew VMAX evolved. And this is kind of where you got to debate, what do I want to go after? And I think Mateusz understands how close that game was because he was able to target down the Hoopas, or excuse me, the Drizziles consistently, and understands that is a strategy. Did have to discard a boss early, so will only be limited to 1 more boss's orders for the rest of the game.
Justin has not had quite as quick of a start this game as in Game 1, so now this strategy from Mateusz of targeting down those Drizziles is much more likely to yield him a win because Justin just hasn't taken the prize cards necessary with the Assault Gates early on like we saw in game number 1.
couldn't quite see the option there. There were a lot of things to think about. I think Chromatic, Switch, as well as another plethora of options. So this will be pretty interesting to see what Mateusz goes for off the Chromatic. Was pretty quick to grab that card as well. So is going to be able to fill up. Has only used one Fusion Strike system. This turn has felt so long already, and there are plenty of other options to draw into more cards. This is just going to continuously play more power tablets. Has access to that Psychic Energy. Where do you even place this energy? It looks like it is going to be onto the Mew. You could also put it onto something like the Oricorio to give it like a pivot. There's a lot of options. It's not the most relevant thing this turn, as we are going to see another Rotom Phone, and that is going to find the boss's orders. Exactly what you want to see here for the following turn.
Yep, the boss's orders strat seems to be what Mateusz is after, and it does a few things because it also locks a Darkness Energy up on the Hoopa, forces Justin to either scoop up net to discard it, or there's no, like if the Hoopa doesn't get KO'd, it's just going to be stuck there, so you can't get it back with Training Court, you can't get it back with Clara.
Yeah, it looks like we are going to see the, oh, it looks like it is the Scoop Up Net.
Oh, did play the Scoop Up Net.
Yeah, Scoop Up Net, wow.
So I wonder if Justin even expected that card to come down or not, because that is a big deal. It takes away the Yoga Loop play that Justin may have been trying to set up.
Yeah, now at this point, though, you're committed to just attacking with Mew VMAX for the rest of the game.
That's true.
And at this point, I mean, yes, you deny the prize for a turn, but it's as simple as if Mateusz takes this prize, is now going to be taking 150 damage from the Fiery Wrath. Even if you just wait 2 more turns and you go...
Mateusz has like no cards left in deck. It's like, it's turn 3, things getting wild over here with the Mew VMAX. You just draw through the deck so efficiently.
It's crazy. It's baffling sometimes to look at this and say, oh, you got 15 cards left in deck. It's turn 3. You have, even if you wanted to, you could burn down and draw another 4 cards if there was another Fusion Strike system. That's how aggro this deck is at playing so many cards that can just be played. They don't have a requirement. They're not supporter cards. It's not slower. As we are going to see, the knockout is going to go ahead and draw down to 3 prize cards.
This is a big opening for Justin.
Yeah, this is where you really want to find out the Clara, see if the Clara play is an option. So you have to look at and see, does that make sense? Can you put the math together? And more importantly, can you find the pieces to make it happen?
Yeah, still has a lot of energies in the deck and the Moltres, so you could even get him out of the deck at this point. With 2 Drizziles in play, Shady Dealings and Tellian can come out as well. Lots of ways to search the deck, get these energy searches, get Raihan plays, lots of different options that Justin has.
Yeah, and this is really where Galarian Moltres is going to start to shine. The farther this game goes into, it looks like we are going to see that Shady Dealings Inteleon come down into play. We'll be able to find the pivoting option, most likely to scoop up that if it's not already in hand. Reutilizing this Inteleon and also pivoting it out of the it looks like we are going to see... We'll have to figure out exactly what's going to get grabbed. Justin is thinking this through, wants to make sure everything gets routed, and it looks like we are going to see the Scoop Up Net get grabbed, so that will be the pivoting option guaranteed for this Inteleon, as well as it looks like just another card to work out through. There is, I believe, still like just the one Galarian Moltres already in the discard pile that was knocked out on the first turn of the game from that Melodious Echo. So looks like it is actually going to be a Quick Ball as the grab for the second card.
You can get the Moltres out of the deck potentially. Is debating between the Quick Ball or not. Justin has also got to consider that after the Scoop Up Net, we'll have access to another 2 trainer cards from the Shady Dealings because this active will get picked up. So Quick Ball will be grabbed. You want to have something else to send up here.
Yeah, an interesting thing to note about Lessons of Zeal, it applies weakness after, so it is relevant that a choice banded, or just in general, a Moltres here, I believe, will pick up the KO. It will be 340 minus the 20, so it will be 320. If it was before, then things get tricky, because now it's 40 minus damage, so things get tricky. But I just want to make sure to clarify that and understand, as that could definitely be the play that is going for, especially signaling with that Quick Ball draw.
Yep, setting up the Moltres would be excellent here. It'd be 3 prize cards. It would get Justin right back into this game. It's a 6-3 prize card deficit at the moment, but it's still not necessarily over. And now Justin brings up the Oricorio on the bench. Okay, and Scoop Up Net will pick up the active Inteleon and sends up the Hoopa right away.
Yeah, I mean, you have 1 Scoop Up Net. Surely you don't have 2 Scoop Up Nets in your deck, right, to pick up another one.
I don't think so, no. And I think Justin is, a smart player, is aware of the clock, recognizes, hey, I either need to win this game, or if this game didn't complete, I would just be the winner of the match as well. So Justin is, these decks naturally just take long turns, and there are, having to force your opponent to take 6 prize cards. These are all things that factor in here. Justin, by hitting into this Oricorio for 70, is setting up a potential for the Yoga Loop at some point, but would only, once again, like we mentioned, do that if it was a game-winning play, since putting Metacham into play as a Psychic Weak Pokemon would not be a great idea since it gives up 2 prizes.
Yeah, a smart play there as well to go ahead and attach the Dark Energy to that Mew. Gives it a guaranteed pivoting option. Doesn't have to rely off a scoop.
I'm sure Justin is kicking himself for putting the air balloon on it earlier and having to discard it off of the scoop up net, because it would be really nice to have access to this Dark Energy somewhere else and not have to put it on the Mew.
Looks like eyeing up that boss's orders and actually going to go ahead and target down the Mew.
Okay.
Put himself at 2 prize cards. There's the switch into the Mew VMAX, and this is essentially going to come down to, can Justin string together 2 Fiery Wrath attacks? Otherwise, if there is no knockout or some sort of Yoga Loop play, rather, the floodgates are going to open up, and this is going to be a big turn. We are now under a minute left in this game, so if Mateusz does not finish his turn within this time, we'll be turn 0, and that is a big deal to lose a turn in time.
Yeah, Mateusz wants to play this turn pretty quickly and make sure that if time is called, it is on Justin's turn, so that Mateusz would still have a turn 1 and a turn 3 in order to close the game out.
I do have to wonder, though, with Yoga Loop. I think Yoga Loop does mess with the turns of time.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Yeah. I want to point that out.
Justin could literally skip a turn of time, which would be pretty wild if that's the case.
That's crazy. So I believe, to clarify, and correct me if I'm wrong, if Justin was turn 0 and used Yoga Loop, he also becomes turn 1 of time, and then his opponent would become...
So it's really weird. So Justin would be turn 0. Using Yoga Loop would basically make turn 1 not happen. There would be no turn 1. So it would be turn 0, then turn 2, so Mateusz would only have 1 turn. It's a little weird how it works.
It looks like we are going to see the Psychic Leap, and this is a big opportunity for the Raihan. It guarantees the pivot, and this can guarantee the Rapid Strike energy out of the deck. If there's the access to Metacham, which we know the Quick Ball is in hand, this could be the exact play. I don't have confirmation yet if time has been called, but it's going to at least be coming up here. And that is actually a very big deal if time was just called, because that gives Mateusz 1 turn to make things happen. But at the same time, if Metacham's... I don't know how many bosses orders have been played. I believe all 3 at this point are the discard pile. So there is technically no way for that to come up into the active. So we have to figure out the exact counts of cards in discard piles, but we already see the Quick Ball in hand. Gonna go ahead and get rid of that Bird Keeper. I think it's time to see a Yoga Loop here, Chip.
It could be happening. Let's see what's grabbed. It is the Metacham hitting the bench. This card from Evolving Skies has been something players have talked about a lot. When it first got revealed, people thought this card would just be absolutely insane, and it has been splashed in and out of decks that could utilize Rapid Strike energy multiple times since its existence, and it is for plays just like this one, stealing a turn from your opponent.
Here we go. We see the Rapid Strike energy go on to that Metacham. The retreat is there, and we're going to be seeing it on stream, the Yoga Loop, a very rare interaction we don't get to feature a lot. We'll be able to place 2 damage counters onto that Oricorio, putting it at exactly enough to be knocked out. And if you utilize that attack to knock out a Pokemon, you get to take an additional turn. So hopefully we'll have some confirmation on the exact turns here that it is, because, again, it is fairly relevant. I have to imagine...
It's a big deal.
Yeah, I have to imagine Justin would go for this play if there was already 3 boss's orders in the discard pile. Otherwise, at this point, you really don't have a way to close out the game, even with your extra turn. So I have to imagine that it looks like there actually was a time extension, or
the timer's been updated.
Yeah, the timer's updated here. Wow. So
not in turns just yet.
Yeah, so it looks like we are not in turns yet. So we are going to see the Yoga Loop. It looks like, hey, not clicking on the card, but using his finger to say, I'm using this Yoga Loop attack. I'm placing these damage counters. So the interesting thing to note, again, going into this turn is cards like Raihan, cards like Cynthia's Ambition are still active on your extra turn, because the card text reads, if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your opponent's last turn. And that is technically the last turn. So... it looks like we are actually in some sort of a time. It looks like confirming here that Justin will have turns 1 and 2 of time, and Mateusz will have turn 3.
And it looks like things are getting scooped up here. I think Justin must have it, and that is going to be the game. Justin Bokhari moves on by getting a win here, locks up a berth into the top 8 of the European International Championships.
Wow, what an incredible play there from Justin. In the nick of time, able to close things out, seal it up, and secure himself a spot in the top 8 cut. That's got to feel great. His first event back in this new season, and what a better way to start things off than securing yourself a spot in the top 8 cut.
Very well played by Justin, a matchup that I'm sure he's tested a bunch. He's very familiar with how to play the Mew V Max matchup. It's the deck everyone practiced against time and time again, and the practice has paid off in this round. Mateusz isn't necessarily eliminated at this point, coming into this round with the 29 match points, now needing to just win one more game and try to get to 32. What a game.
Yeah, I'm kind of at a loss for words. Seeing Yoga Loop and seeing a play like that was thought out was incredible. And even Mateusz tried to play around that, right, by utilizing the scoop up net on a Meloetta that had so many resources on it. So maybe kicking himself a little bit, saying, should I have just continued to try a prize trade with this Meloetta? Ended up not working out, not benefiting. So at the end of the day, though, Justin definitely deserved that game, played excellently. There was that